Today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you how to make a simple Christmas card featuring the brand new Season's Greetings Stamp TV kit. Let me show you the tools and products you're going to need for this card project. First, you're going to need some of the stamps from the new kit. And the ones that I'm using are the Snow Frame. This is the mini stamp set that's included with the kit. And this frame actually comes with 3 different components, but I'm just using the outside frame for this card. Then I have one of the Merry Christmas greetings, and you can see that is a big, bold, swirly greeting. So pretty. And then I'm going to use the little Santa Claus stamp. And this little Santa stamp will fit inside of this circle if you want to stamp him directly, or you can stamp him on a separate piece and cut it out the way I'm going to do for my project today. I'm going to cut that Santa out using a Spellbinders die. This die will cut the circle to 2 1/8 of an inch, and that is a really good size. So if you have an electronic cutter or you have a punch, you're going to need something that's about 2 1/8 inch in diameter. You may be able to get away with a 2-inch circle as well, so just try it, but if you have this particular die, it's 2 1/8 inch. So you're also going to need some ink, and I have Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I also have some of the Gina Designs Christmas Pine ink, and I'm going to color in the Santa with some markers. And the colors that I'm going to use are Copic color R00, that's pinkish white. I'm going to use R27, which is cadmium red. And you can see I have a variety of styles of Copic markers here. Copic marker G29, that's pine tree green. I have a sketch marker here, R20, and that's blush. I have brick white, and that is E40. I have BG10, which is cool shadow. And then I have the colorless blender pen. And you can mix and match sketch markers with chow markers, with original markers. They all work together. The ink is all the same. Then I'm going to use a Sakura Clear Stardust pen. This is the Jelly Roll pen to add a little sparkle. I'm going to need a button, and I've just pulled a few of the Christmas Pine buttons out of my package here. Some have 2 holes, this one has a little bit of silver in it, and so I'm going to pick one of these buttons to use for the project. And I'm going to tie these buttons with some of the We Are Memory Keepers red and white baker's twine. Then to adhere my pieces, I'm going to use some mono adhesive. This is the dot adhesive. I'm also going to need a couple of pop dots, and these are the 1/4 inch pop dots. And then to attach my button, I'm going to need a glue dot, and these are the mini glue dots. These come on a sheet or on a roll, and they're very effective for holding solid images or solid embellishments, any kind of bulky thing onto your card. They're very, very sticky. These are also really good for adhering gift cards onto your card projects. If you want to do gift cards for the holidays, they're very similar to that sticky stuff that gift cards are stuck to when you buy them in the store. I'm also going to use some Cutter Bee scissors and my Cuttlebug. Now for cardstock, I have some of the Gina Designs cardstock. I have a Christmas Pine card base, some Red Hot, and some of our layering weight white cardstock. So to begin, I'm going to stamp that frame onto this piece of white cardstock. Now, when you adhere the stamp to your block, you'll notice that if you use a round block like I'm using, this has a grid on it, and I like to line the points of the frame up on that grid. Just makes it a little bit easier for me to stamp it straight and to kind of see where it's being placed on the card. So I'm going to ink up this stamp using some of this Christmas Pine. And it may sound like I'm inking up the stamp very heavily, or I'm hitting the stamp really hard with ink, but I'm not. I think it's more that the microphone just picks it up really loud. I'm not abusing my stamps. I would never do that. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this toward the top, right about here. Make sure that it's centered and press down. And then when you're doing a big stamp like this, you really want to make sure that you press all of the areas down to make sure that the stamp has contact with the paper so you get a nice crisp image. You don't want it to be blotchy. So there is that beautiful frame. Now I'm going to stamp the greeting down here underneath. And again, I'm going to ink this up with Christmas Pine. And this greeting is going to go down here toward the bottom. There we go. Isn't that a beautiful greeting? Oh, I just love that. I'm going to use this one for years to come. I know it. All right. Now my next step is to take this little Santa stamp, and then I have a little small piece of paper here, white layering weight paper, and I'm going to ink this up using the Memento Tuxedo Black. Now I do use our black onyx for this as well, but I know a lot of you really like the Memento Tuxedo Black, and I would highly recommend having both ink pads in your collection. So there's the little Santa. Now I'm going to color him in. I'm going to start with the BG10. I'm going to do the outline first. I like to create that kind of glowy look around the outside by just highlighting all around using this marker. It gives such a nice cool glow to your image, and it really kind of makes it pop off of the white behind it. Separates it a bit, especially with an image like this where you are going to leave some parts of it white. It's nice to kind of have that little bit of separation between the image itself and the white background. So you can see that just kind of makes it glow a little bit. There's also other colors that you can do this with. You can do this with cool gray or warm gray. You can do it with something that's not so turquoise, maybe a little bit more of a bluer blue. Or you can do it with a real soft pink or lavender. Yellow is really pretty. So try a bunch of different things and see what works best for your card project. So there we go. Now we've got a nice glow around the outside there. Now let's do the red parts next. I'm going to use that R27, which is the cadmium red, and I'm going to color his hat in the red. And again, you guys know that I don't do a whole lot of shading with Copic markers. I do some, but I really like just the smooth, non-streaky look of Copic markers. They really last a long time too. I've had my Copics for years and I haven't filled one yet with re-inker, so they seem to hold a lot of ink. Okay, I'm going to do his little jacket here. I do like the thin point of this original marker. However, if you have the sketch markers, you know that that brush tip comes to a very, very thin little point. So you can get the same detail whether you're using the original marker or the sketch marker or the chow. The chow also has that nice brush tip. Okay, getting into some pretty small areas here, but you can see that it's working out. Okay, get that right in there. And then the bottom here of his jacket. And we'll also do the legs. They could be done in black too if you wanted to, but I'm going to just do the whole thing in red. Like that's his little Santa suit. He has his little red leggings on there. Okay, so he's colored in. Now I'm going to color the Christmas ball using that pine tree green. This is a really nice match for our Christmas pine cardstock. I've recommended that on our Copic coloring chart that matches the Gina K Designs colors. Now this Christmas ornament is an empty ornament, which I really like because if you wanted to do a little paper piecing with pattern paper, you could use pattern paper in there. But you can also do some fun Copic coloring techniques, which is what I'm going to do on this one. I'll let that just absorb for a second. And while that's doing that, I'm going to color his cheeks with this R20 blush. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to do a little kind of See how I just did a little half circle above, next to each eye, kind of, and gave him some rosy cheeks. Now I'm going to blend that all in with the R00. That's the pinkish white. So I'll do the rest of his skin in that color, and then I'll blend the cheeks a little bit so they don't look quite so defined. Just kind of blends and looks like he's blushing. There we go. Now I do want to add a little texture to his beard, and I'm going to do that with the E40, which is brick white. Not going to color the whole thing in, but I am going to outline a little bit just around the perimeter. And then I'll just do a couple little squiggles going down just to give it a little bit of texture there. That might be a little difficult to pick up, but if you're on Stamp TV, you can look at the photograph. It might be a little clearer there. Now I want to add a little texture here to this Christmas ornament. So what I'm going to do is take the pointed end of my Copic marker, or you can use the brush tip, and I'm going to do little lines going down the Christmas ornament here. I'm going to do them a second time to make sure they stand out. You can see that. And now I'm going to go the other way with 3 lines. And one more time. That just gives a little plaid look to that Christmas ornament. Jazzes it up a little bit. Now, my next step is to take that Sakura Stardust pen, and I need a little piece of extra paper here to test it out, make sure that its ink is coming out. You can see the glitter is flowing. So I'm going to just do his hat here. I'm going to color it in solid glitter, so it's just clear sparkle. Get that off the edge there. Since it is a liquid, you can kind of push it around if you get it on the lines. Makes it a little bit easier to work with. And of course, because it's a pen, it comes out so nice and fine that you can really do the tiniest little bits of glitter here and there wherever you want. Put a little bit here on his hat. Let's get rid of that. And then I'm going to do his gloves. Make those sparkle. His belt. His other glove, and his shoes. So there's lots of sparkle there. Now one other spot I want to add glitter to is this Christmas ornament. And I'm going to add it up to the top here, but I'm also going to put a little dot where each of the 2 lines meet, just to have it be a little bit more glittery. And you can see if I can make that shine a little bit for you. You can see all that glitter in there. And that gives a little bit of detail. Ooh, look at that, isn't that pretty? That gives a little bit of detail to the Christmas ornament as well. So you've kind of accented that plaid pattern. Okay, so now this is going to dry for a minute, and I'm going to assemble this part of my card. So I'm going to need that red panel, red hot panel, and I'm going to adhere these 2 pieces together. I'm going to do that with some of this mono adhesive. And I'll tell you, this frame, this snow frame, is absolutely one of my favorite stamps I think we've ever done. I love the idea that you get the same look as a die cut, a frame, but you can stamp it right there onto your card, and it's perfect. It doesn't require a lot of extra postage because it's not creating too much bulk, yet it still has all of that brilliance and elegance that die cut pieces have. So I really like that. Now this whole panel is going to go onto my pine green, my Christmas pine card base. So I'll put that on next. frame that out nicely. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to create a little embellishment here using a pine green button, and I don't know which one I like better. Maybe I'll use this bigger one. Kind of like the texture in that. And I'm going to grab some of this red baker's twine, cut a piece off, and I'm going to start by threading this through the front. One there, and one there, and pull that through like that. Then I'm going to cross them over in the back and come out the opposite holes. One there. I like this baker's twine. It reminds me of a candy cane. Very festive. And now I'm going to tie a little bow, a nice loopy bow. I think I have some mono adhesive on my fingers because everything's sticking to me. Okay, so there is a nice little loopy bow. And that can be as big or as small as you want it. I'll make it just a little smaller. And then you can cut off that excess. You probably don't need as much baker's twine as I grabbed, but... And then this is going to be a little accent piece on my card. Now, if you're mailing a lot of these, you may not want to use the button and the bow because that might be a little bit thick. But if you're hand delivering some of these cards, maybe popping gift cards inside, this kind of embellishment is really fun and really gives it a little extra something. Okay, so now I'm going to cut out my Santa, and I'm going to use the Cuttlebug for that. I'm going to start with an A and a B plate. And that's Santa, and then I'm going to grab that die and frame out the Santa so he is in the center. That looks pretty good to me, but it's a cute image. And then I'm going to use the C plate on top and cut that out. Now, if you're using the Spellbinders dies, or any of the other open dies that are on the market, you can emboss as well. And I think I'll do that. You flip it over and put an embossing pad on top, and then another B plate. Now, if your Cuttlebug isn't real tight when you do this, you can add a piece of chipboard on top or some cardstock. Try it first without the chipboard, but if you're not getting a good impression, then add a little bit at a time until you get a deep enough impression where you can see the embossing. So there is the little Santa. He's all shimmery and shiny and ready to go onto my card. So let's assemble the Santa part of this card. Now you can do this either by gluing that or taping that right on if you want to have a nice flat card where you don't have any extra bulk, or you can do it with some pop dots, and that's what I'm going to do because I want to have a little bit more dimension in this card. I'm going to use 4 of these 1/4-inch pop dots. Now the pop dots also come in a 1/2-inch size, which gives you even more lift off of your paper, and those are really fun too. So you can try it both ways and see which style you like. Depending on who you're giving it to, if you're hand delivering it, then you certainly can use more lift. Alright, and then that is going to go right on top, and that 2 1/8 of an inch circle is perfect because it still gives you some of the green showing. I'm going to move that just a little bit. You can see it has to be perfect. Well, it doesn't really have to be. Probably only I would notice if it wasn't, but while I'm here, I might as well do it. Okay, so there, that leaves that nice little bit of Christmas pine showing in the background there of that circle. And then for this button, I'm going to use 2 glue dots. I'm going to use one at the top or at the bottom, doesn't matter, just one on each side of the button. And that'll make sure that the button doesn't rock back and forth. It'll lay nice and straight. You can get away with just one, but it may not lay as straight, so I would go with 2. So now the glue dots are on there. Just need to find where I want to put it. I think I'll put it right about here and press it down. So there is that cute little embellishment there on my card. And there is my finished card project. Try other color combinations like cranberry tart and fresh asparagus for a more country Christmas feel. With a little stamping and coloring, some of your favorite cardstock, and a little glitter from a Stardust pen, you can mass produce this card for everyone on your holiday list.